Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into it, not just scratching the surface. We are going deep. We're
hmm
looking at those critical processes that, underpin efficient, compliant corporate spending, specifically within SAP Ariba Procurement Solutions.
That's right. And our source material today, it's really focused on let's say, the nuts and bolts needed to run a globally compliant procure-to-pay cycle.
Okay.
This is the kind of essential knowledge for, say, the Ariba Associate Certification. But we're not really prepping for a test here.
No, not at all.
We're interested in the why, the actual practical strategies these big companies use to automate financial control.
Absolutely. And our mission, I think, is pretty clear. We need to quickly get our heads around how Ariba acts like that ultimate financial guardrail.
Yeah.
How does it actively enforce rules, manage that flow of critical supplier data, and ensure financial compliance, often without anyone having to step in manually.
Right.
We're looking for those essential strategic nuggets, the things that really define modern procurement automation.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack this. Where should we start? Maybe at the beginning of the spend journey.
Yeah, let's do that. Guided buying. That seems like the place.
Good idea.
This is the user-facing side, right?
Yeah.
Where an employee actually goes to request something.
hmm
In a big company, if you just let people type anything into a search bar, well, that sounds like chaos, not control.
It really can be.
Think about that classic scenario. A large enterprise, they want to make absolutely certain every single employee everywhere uses their preferred, heavily discounted internal catalog for standard computer bits, like a mouse, keyboard, monitor, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it sounds simple enough on the surface, but if you don't automate it properly, you're relying on, what, memos, training sessions.
Or worse, yeah.
Or worse, yeah, manual pre-approvals for everything, which just kills efficiency.
Yeah.
You might think, well, just make the internal catalog the default page.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Why not just do that? Or send a notification. Or maybe use an API to block external sites. Why does Ariba need a specific, defined mechanism for this routing?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the goal isn't just to suggest the right path. It's really to enforce compliance right at that point of request.
Enforce. Okay.
And the essential mechanism for that, it's the use of policies within guided buying.
Okay, policies. Tell me how that policy mechanism works differently from, say, just a pop-up reminder.
Well, see, a policy isn't just a suggestion. It's more like an instruction set that's linked directly to the spend category.
Ah.
So when an employee starts a requisition and picks the category computer peripherals, for example, the policy automatically spots that category.
Right.
And it routes the user directly, straight to that pre-approved internal catalog form. No detours.
So the system actively stops the purchase from even starting down the wrong path.
Precisely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the insight is really this. Policies improve both compliance and efficiency because they completely eliminate the need for the employee to search around or try to remember the rule or make some kind of purchasing judgment call.
Right, takes the guesswork out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're guided immediately to the correct approved source, the one that already has the negotiated pricing and terms baked in.
Mm.
This secures the financial commitment right from that very first click, making sure they stay compliant with internal sourcing rules.
That's a huge efficiency gain, surely. You don't want your procurement team spending all their time correcting user errors.
No, you want the system doing the policing for you.
Exactly.
And once that request is processed, PO generated.
Well, then we have to shift gears.
Okay.
We move from the user experience side to the, let's say, complex plumbing that makes all the data flow seamlessly between Ariba and the customer's core financial system, the ERP.
Right, the back end. This is where things often get, well, messy in big organizations.
They can, yeah. Procurement only works if Ariba and the ERP are speaking the same language, especially about suppliers. If the systems disagree on who a supplier is, or if they're okay to be paid, the whole thing just breaks down.
Definitely. And this is where we hit supplier master data synchronization.
Okay.
So when a new supplier gets onboarded, their data has to be synchronized from the customer's ERP, that's the system of record, over to Ariba buying and invoicing.
Makes sense.
Now, we need to think about the two most critical pieces of data, the ones that absolutely must transfer to make that supplier fully operational for purchasing and payment. What would you guess?
Critical data. I mean, I'd assume everything's critical. Name, address, tax ID, that sort of thing.
Well, yes, all those are necessary identifiers, absolutely. But there are two specific data points that are, let's say, immediately critical for actually enabling transactions and the payment flow later on.
Okay, what are they?
First, you absolutely must transfer the supplier's bank account and payment details.
Ah, okay. That makes total sense. Without that, you can approve invoices all day long in Ariba, but the ERP can't actually cut the check, right?
Correct. That's the financial piping, essentially. The second critical item, it's the supplier's internal classification and status.
Status, like active or inactive.
Exactly. Are they marked as active, inactive, maybe blocked, or under some kind of restriction in the ERP?
Okay, why is that specific status so vital for the synchronization process itself?
Because that status dictates their eligibility for transactions within Ariba.
Ah, I see.
If Ariba doesn't know that the supplier is marked as active back in the ERP, Ariba might actually block a new purchase order from even being generated for them.
Got it.
So these two data points, the ability to transact, which comes from the status, and the ability to pay, which needs the bank details, they are the immediate showstoppers if that sync fails.
That really clarifies the hierarchy of data needed. Okay, let's flip the flow now. An invoice has been approved in Ariba. It matches the PO, matches the receipt. Now it needs to get over to the ERP for the final, cash disbursement. In high-volume places, relying on someone to manually export a file, that just seems like a recipe for errors. Or worse.
Oh, absolutely. Which brings us neatly to integration methods. The standard expectation today is full automation. Now, why wouldn't a big company just use, say, a direct real-time API call? Just push the approved invoice straight into the ERP. Isn't faster always better?
That would be my first thought, too. Speed seems paramount, especially with cash flow payment deadlines. Why would procurement systems often choose maybe a less immediate route for financial reconciliation?
Yeah, this is a great point, actually. There's a bit of intellectual friction here. While, yes, real-time APIs are fantastic for small, immediate updates,
Sure.
when you're dealing with large volumes of financial documents, like batches of approved invoices, the preferred and, frankly, most reliable integration method is often a scheduled bulk transfer.
Okay, scheduled bulk transfer.
And the standard tool for this kind of automated export is the SAP Ariba Integration Toolkit, or ITK.
ITK. Okay, so if I'm understanding this, the benefit here is more about reliability and maybe auditability rather than just pure speed.
Exactly. You've nailed it. The ITK acts as the scheduled workhorse. It provides a really standardized, secure way for scheduled data export, usually in large batches.
Right.
And this is critical for a couple of reasons. One, it handles the sheer volume reliably. Two, it allows for proper financial reconciliation. Batches of approved documents get transferred and accounted for in the ERP in controlled cycles.
Ah, controlled cycles.
Yeah, it minimizes the risk of data loss or mismatch during that crucial handoff. It's really about automating the accounting function, not just moving data bits around as fast as possible.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So the system's guided the user, the data synchronized, but, no process is perfect.
Never is.
The system's ultimate job, maybe, is to act as that financial guardian, stopping mistakes, stopping fraud before payment happens. Let's tackle mistakes first, specifically invoice exceptions.
Right. We absolutely have to talk about the three-way match here.
The classic, invoice versus PO versus goods receipt.
Exactly. So if there's a discrepancy, let's say the supplier billed for 100 units, but the warehouse only confirmed receiving 90 units. What's the safest, most compliant default action for the system?
Okay. I can think of a couple of potentially terrible options. Maybe the system just auto-corrects down to 90 units and pays, assuming the receipt is right.
Risky.
Or maybe it just rejects the invoice entirely, sends it back to the supplier, wastes everyone's time.
Also not ideal. If you connect this back to the core need for financial control, for risk aversion, neither autocorrection nor immediate rejection is the standard practice.
Okay.
Autocorrection, like you said, risks paying the wrong amount based on an assumption. Immediate rejection, that complicates vendor relations and, might be an easy fix.
So what does it do?
The safest standard process is that the system immediately places the invoice on hold.
On hold.
And it flags it for manual review by someone in accounts payable.
This is where it gets really interesting, because the automation detects the error, but then it actually hands control back to human judgment.
Precisely. It slams on the brakes for payment. The system's done its job. Alert. Problem. Now, a person has to investigate why there's a 10-unit difference.
Right.
Does the goods receipt need updating? Was the invoice just wrong? This whole process ensures only accurate invoices get approved for payment. It maintains total financial control by forcing human verification of the error before any money leaves the company bank account.
That distinction, automated detection, but mandatory human resolution, that feels really vital. Okay, now let's look at prevention. Stopping unauthorized spending before an invoice even shows up, specifically against negotiated contracts.
Yes, proactive contract compliance.
How does Ariba automatically enforce those spending limits that are defined in, say, long-term contracts?
This is critical. Organizations spend ages negotiating contracts with defined monetary limits, right? We agree to spend a maximum of X dollars with this vendor this year.
Yeah.
Now, if a buyer goes to issue a requisition that would push the total spend past that agreed limit, the system needs to intervene immediately, not after the fact.
Right, it needs to be proactive.
Hmm.
So how does Ariba use automation to prevent that overcommitment?
The mechanism is all about automated routing based on financial thresholds.
Okay.
If a requisition's requested amount means it exceeds the contract's remaining value, Ariba doesn't just flash a warning light.
No?
No. It automatically routes that requisition away from the standard approval chain. It sends it straight to a specific approver. Often that might be the contract owner or maybe a high-level budget manager.
So it escalates it.
Exactly. And the purchase order simply cannot be generated until that specific override approval is gone.
Wow, that's powerful. So instead of finding out 6 months down the line, oops, we overspent the contract limit, now we have to negotiate some painful correction.
Right.
The system actually catches the potential violation right at the commitment stage, before the money is even promised.
Precisely. It saves time, it prevents unauthorized liability from being created, and it ensures purchases stay strictly within those defined contractual limits. It completely eliminates the need for procurement or finance folks to be constantly manually tracking contract balances against spend. It's a truly strategic use of automation to manage financial risk proactively. Which I think leaves us with a final, maybe provocative thought for you, the listener, to consider. Despite all these layers of automation we've talked about, the guided paths, the automated data flow, the contract checks, we still saw that one crucial step requires human intervention.
The manual review of the on-hold invoice.
Exactly. Why, specifically, is human verification seemingly indispensable right at that point? And what financial chaos, what implications could result if we actually tried to fully automate that manual review step away?
Something to chew on.
Something to chew on.
That's
The critical importance, perhaps, of human judgment even in a highly automated world. Thank you for diving deep with us today.